Hey everybody. Hopefully you can see my screen. This is some numbers that I put together after seeing the results of the Global Games Week 1. Um, Rubear or Ruben kind of put up a little comment where he mentioned he wanted to see some of the numbers, so I decided I'd put it together. He is the boss, so we have to do as he says. But in all seriousness, on the left, we have the leaders, of course, and then I'll go through and show you the columns. These are just the ones that I came up with. You're more than welcome to comment if there's any others that you want to see. But we have wins, we have losses, of course, times played, which this isn't a perfect number, just because if you're succeeding in the event, you want to play your deck the least amount of times possible. You want to get a 1-0 with your decks and kind of shut out the opponent. Win percentage, of course, that's just the wins over losses. Times drafted, because we have 16 teams, I wanted to make sure that I recorded how many times the deck got drafted or how popular it is, that kind of thing. And then, of course, the draft percentage. So out of 16, how many times did this deck get drafted? If 16 is 100%, these kinds of numbers. Another stat that I thought was impressive or important, bans. I think bans is really important, just because it tells us what decks, um, just a consensus, people are striking for. Maybe decks that you shouldn't or maybe should be running. And that's also part of why I waited for this, by the way. I'll go into that a little further. Ban percent, again, out of 16. And then ban percent per times drafted. Live, make that edit. Oops, can't type. So in reviewing all of this, I'm hoping to get a little bit of clarity. This column is not the most relevant, but for me, again, if you guys come up with more columns for me to add, I'm welcome to do that. And then this is just week 1. Part of why I wanted to wait for this, not to take away any kind of credit from these players. They don't know who I am. That's totally fine. But in case there was some kind of information that they can glean from this, I didn't want it to impact too much of week 2. And as far as I know, some of week 2 has already gotten started. But I could be mistaken on that too. I'm uploading this on July 5th. Sorry, Sunday. So yeah, just here again, this is my deck, Rosinante, that I'm playing in OP16. And this deck kind of underperformed. It the sweet spot for your deck is kind of this Gloofy statistic where it goes 50%. Anything above 50% is excellent. Anything below 50%, you obviously want to work on. And then let me try to fit the whole thing on camera at once. Can I see? I think one more zoom out. Oops, that's probably too small. Okay, so we just have to do the 30. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in again. This is too small. So I kind of came up with some numbers here. Just again, in what I was able to glean from this information. You're welcome to pause and go back and review. We did have 74 games, which is interesting. Again, if everybody's having a 3-2, it's 5. 5, and then that means 10. So 10, 20, or 5, 10, 15, 20. So if everybody's playing the max amount of games, it's 5 times 4 is 20, 80 games. So we were just short of that. We had a couple 3-1s. So that's why we didn't quite get to that 80, but totally fine. I think it's normal. And then we did have, I guess I should show off some of the totals here so you guys can see them. So of these totals here, we'll highlight this column. These are the numbers that I came up with. I could be wrong, could be mistaken. I am by no means perfect. Definitely could have missed something. Again, please ignore these, this 196 and this 400. That's not, I think those aren't, or sorry, this 899 and 196. I don't think those are relevant numbers just because of the small data set. And this is only 16 teams. It's just this is the information that I was able to glean from it. Here were my like overall totals. I think that of these teams that competed, um, the most unique teams were Croatia, United Kingdom, and Belgium. If you just count each number of times that a deck got drafted, that is essentially a point total of one. So Rosie has 11 points, individually, and just in calculating that number, these were the three most unique teams. I'll speak on this a little bit more in a bit, and then by that same metric, the least unique teams, funnily enough, Italy, Singapore, and Canada all had the same exact draft. Just kind of speaking to the caliber that they believe the decks that they drafted to have. And if you count all three of these teams as one draft because it's the same, then the next least unique teams are here. And then, by the way, spoilers. If you guys didn't watch all the games, maybe don't watch this. But of the decks that we did get to see, the best performers were those with 100% win rate in Sengoku, Kagara, Rebecca, and Sanji. That's these guys here. But of these, Sengoku edges out the pack because it was played twice. And in getting played twice, it has an extra win over those. And then the worst performing decks are unfortunately Red Green Lacy and Ace. They just barely edge out Buggy because OP09 Buggy only got played twice, but you can definitely count that in the running as well. I believe Lexinator mentioned that some of his play on the Ace, he did regret that there were some mistakes that if he could go back, he'd fix. And I totally think a number of those games were super doable, especially that Yamato game against the US. And then Red Green Lacy, I just don't have a lot of information on what kind of information, what sweet somethings Cruel Zor might have mentioned to his team, but shout outs to him, shout outs to them. And then UK, Buggy, I mean, you really, really tried. Those games were very, very close. And then those are just absolutes, though. If you count the best performing deck that has more than 4 times drafted, because these are such small numbers, you're gonna see that the best deck overall, it's not even close. It's Penelope. I'll go back up in a second. And then the worst performers, because they were drafted more than 4 times, are Rosinante, Teach, and Nami. So if you look at Penelope's numbers, they're here. This is kind of insane and speaks to what a lot of people have been kind of theorizing, or at least some of the consensus is that this deck is absolutely overtuned. And the fact that it got drafted 13 times means that it is the most drafted deck of the format, the global games. It got played only 7 times, but in those 7 times it won 6 games. So obviously the people playing the deck are very, very good. That's why they're drafting it. But this much of a statistical difference between the other decks that have like similar draft numbers speaks to just how strong the deck is, and a little bit more that I'll mention again. And then if you look, what was it? It was Rosie, Teach, Nami. So the Rosie, Teach, and Nami all got drafted a fair amount, and then their win percentage was also below the 40 percentile. So Rosie especially, I think, is not looking the best just because it got played so often. So this deck, unlike Nami and Teach, had more opportunities. Like it has double the opportunities to have a win rate closer to 50%, the way that Gloofy does. So if you look at these two decks as similar, Gloofy and Rosinante, because they got drafted the same amount of times, they got played almost the exact amount of times, but Gloofy came out on top by just having more wins under its belt. So I don't know if Rosinante is an easy deck to play in this format, and now I'd like to speak to part of why I think decks like Purple Nell and of course these little rogue decks down here have such high win percentages. And it's that a few teams in particular, some of these more unique teams, but I also want to shout out Netherlands for, even though they didn't have the most unique team, I think that they came in with the right mindset. Definitely Croatia. If you saw, they absolutely bullied Teach. And I think that that's part of why you're going to see some of these numbers reflect the information that they're showing. Because I think Italy drafted Nami, and they went into Mexico, and Mexico drafted Lucy. And if you look at Lucy, Lucy is not doing too bad just because of the fact that you can counterpick, and it's really just that first blind pick where you have to kind of make that shot call of like what is our best deck, and what can beat the other three 50% of the time, 51% of the time, whatever you think is giving you your best odds. The exception, I think, in my mind, is just this Purple Anel, because if you look over here, excuse me, it just was the most drafted deck, and it, even though it saw 8 bans, it's still crazy to me that the deck managed to see an 8, like this is, it has an 81% draft percentage, it has an 86% win percentage, and like it got banned half of the time, you guys. 50% of the time, 50% of the time this deck got banned. 50%. Like I don't, and it still managed to get an 80%. So it could have been potentially higher, could have been potentially lower, but this is like insane. I think if you can gentleman out Purple ML, which obviously they're not going to. I wouldn't expect anybody who's a serious competitor who wants to put their country's pride on the line, or whatever you guys kind of imprint onto the global games. Yeah, this Purple now is like clearly a cut above like everybody else. Like it's kind of crazy to me that Mr. John Bandai refuses to do something about this deck, but at the same time, those kinds of words might get me into trouble. So, opinion piece for another video. For now, yeah, this is just kind of what I wanted to show off. I'll show off the standings. This is just, again, what my understanding of it from week 1. You typically want to, as the winner, you want to blow out your opponent, and the less that they get to play, the more you shut them out, the better it is for you and your standing. And then as the loser, the more you want to have gone 3-2 and really gone the distance. I think as viewers, that's what we want as well. Just because we want to see, like, tons of gameplay or as much raw footage as we can from some of these players that we just don't get to see very often. Really appreciate that. But as far as my understanding, I'm going to kind of scroll past. These are the standings. I might have to change the way that I present this information to you guys instead of scrolling around. Hopefully nobody has like motion sickness of any kind, but I can like probably tab and make these individual either individual tables or just kind of different pages that I can kind of shift through to show everybody. But yeah, these are, again, what I got from the data. You guys are welcome to, again, check my numbers out and see that doesn't look right, or hey, what does this mean? And then these are the standings that I saw. I forgot, I didn't write the group names, but in Group A, Spain is in the lead with Netherlands in second, but it's very close. It's just that one game difference. In Group B, I have a tie because Mexico and Croatia both got 3-1s. And then same thing, tie for third on Italy and Thailand. But this doesn't speak to the caliber of these teams. Obviously, any one of these players probably absolutely demolishes us. Anyone who's maybe commenting and saying something about their team other than support, because that's what we want. We want this to be a nice, friendly competition where we get to see everybody succeed. Sorry, I kind of scrolled past Group C. Oops, nope. I don't think you guys are gonna be able to see the last group. Yeah, that's Group C. First and third tie again between Australia and the US. And then you can't quite see it, but I'll have to zoom in, I guess. Can you see it now? Kind of. Zoom in some more. Wow, blue balling, you guys. Okay, so in Group D, the standings are... It's a tie between France and Germany for first, and then a tie on third between UK and Malaysia. People they've already shown I think 3 of these teams, if not 4. I haven't checked the Discord today, but yeah, they've shown off what most of these teams have drafted already. I'll have to update that on my end for, excuse me, for week 2, and then we'll go ahead and see lots of fun games. I don't think there was a single bad video on any of these, like a single bad set, which is why I kind of felt like impassioned enough to make this kind of information. I jokingly said it's whatever the boss wants, but he did not ask me to do this. Please don't think that, you know, I'm part of the basement gang, like Skepas and Niels. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'll show this off again one more time, just to make sure that anybody who wants to double check my numbers is more than welcome to. Definitely just like a fun little side thing that we did, just as like a small little thank you to Rubear, Skepas, Chinois, everybody who is involved at all with this project. Like, this is an insane ask, and I think that like the community doesn't quite fully recognize in a lot of ways how monumental this whole thing is. Like, it's kind of crazy to me that they were able to make this happen with all the logistical issues and behind the scenes and like everything like that. It's just crazy. Win percentage, I don't think this is supposed to be a round number, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone can tell me that on with this kind of 899% at the bottom. It really irks me that it somehow didn't end up as a round number, but could be mistaken. I think it's just maybe the percentage that I have it set to. It just equals an 899 instead of significant figure rounding. Times drafted, 64. That's the number. And then draft percentage, that number, that column looks right. Same thing with bans. And then ban percentage total of force, that looks right to me. Oops, went too far. And then ban percent for times drafted, that's the one that I'm less confident about, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, if you guys have any columns that you'd like me to add, I'm super grateful to do that. And then if you guys have any kind of questions, I can kind of talk about what or how I think or why I think these values are important. I can't speak too much to ban percent per times drafted, but in my mind it made sense when I first put this together. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe you guys can think of a better column, and go ahead and let me know down below. But again, thank you so much to everybody who's involved with all this, all the teams, all the players. You guys are super excellent. These are just numbers, these are just stats. And unfortunately or fortunately, the One Piece community, sim stats, edges, percentages, like all those little things, were seemingly obsessed with that stuff. So I thought this would be fun and like a nice little exercise and something fun to do. That's all this is. Please don't take this any kind of way. This is just like my objective point system that's giving me these values right here in the blue and green. It doesn't mean that, you know, one team is or isn't unique, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you, everybody. See you guys all in week 2. Bye-bye.